A chance encounter. The bustling spaceport of Nexus Station hummed with activity as beings from 100 different worlds haggled, argued, and bartered. Captain Zara Chen weaved through the crowd, her well-worn flight jacket marking her as one of the countless independent traders trying to scrape by in the cutthroat world of interstellar commerce. Zara's dark eyes scanned the docking bay, searching for her ship, the Star Hopper. The battered freighter wasn't much to look at, but it was home. More importantly, it was freedom. In a galaxy dominated by massive corporations and ancient alien empires, Zara valued her independence above all else. As she approached the Star Hopper, a commotion near one of the shadier docking bays caught her attention. A group of rough-looking aliens, Zara recognized them as Krell, a reptilian species known for their criminal enterprises, were dragging a smaller figure between them. Zara's hand instinctively moved to the blaster at her hip. She knew she should mind her own business, but something about the scene felt wrong. Cursing her own curiosity, she edged closer, trying to get a better look. The figure being manhandled by the Krell was unmistakably female, with delicate features that seemed almost human at first glance. But her skin shimmered with an iridescent blue hue, and instead of hair, a crest of feather-like tendrils adorned her head. The alien girl's eyes were wide with terror as she struggled against her captors. "Let me go," the girl cried out in accented but understandable galactic standard. "My father will pay." One of the Krell backhanded her, cutting off the pleas. "Quiet, merchandise," he snarled. "Your father's the one who sold you to us. No one's coming to save you now." Zara felt her blood run cold. Slavery was officially outlawed in most civilized parts of the galaxy, but out here on the fringes, all sorts of atrocities still occurred. She'd heard whispers of a resurgent slave trade, but had never witnessed it firsthand until now. For a moment, Zara wrestled with her conscience. Getting involved would be dangerous, potentially ruinous to her business if she crossed the wrong people. But the thought of walking away, of leaving that girl to such a terrible fate, made her feel sick. Taking a deep breath, Zara strode forward, affecting an air of casual interest. "Hey there," she called out to the Krell. "That's an interesting specimen you've got. Mind if I take a closer look?" The Krell turned to face her, suspicious but intrigued by the possibility of a potential buyer. The leader, a hulking brute with viciously sharp claws, gave her an appraising look. "You in the market for some exotic company, human?" Zara forced herself to smirk, suppressing her revulsion. "Maybe. Depends on the price and the quality of the goods. What species is she?" "Lysani," the Krell replied. "Rare find from the Outer Rim. Empathic abilities, supposedly. Could be useful for all sorts of entertainment." The Lysani girl's eyes met Zara's, a silent plea for help evident in their depths. Zara maintained her disinterested facade, but her mind raced, trying to formulate a plan. "Interesting," Zara mused. "Mind if I inspect the merchandise more closely? I've got credits to spend, but I want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth." The Krell leader hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Make it quick. We've got a transport to catch." Zara approached the girl, making a show of examining her. She leaned in close, ostensibly to check the girl's teeth, and whispered, "I'm going to create a distraction. When I do, run for Docking Bay 17. There's a ship called the Star Hopper. Hide inside and don't come out until I get there." The girl's eyes widened in surprise, but she gave an almost imperceptible nod. Zara straightened up and turned back to the Krell. "Not bad," she said, "but I'm going to need to see her move. Those empathic abilities you mentioned, can you demonstrate them?" The Krell leader growled in frustration. "We don't have time for." His words were cut off as Zara's fist connected with his jaw. The element of surprise gave her the advantage, and the Krell staggered backward. In the same fluid motion, Zara drew her blaster and fired a shot into the air. The crowded spaceport erupted into chaos. Beings of all species scattered, seeking cover from what they assumed was some sort of firefight or terrorist attack. In the confusion, Zara saw the Lusani girl slip away, darting through the panicked crowd. Zara didn't wait to see if the girl made it to the ship. She took off running in the opposite direction, weaving through the throng of terrified spacers and dodging the grasping claws of the enraged Krell. Blast of fire sizzled past her head, scorching the metal walls of the spaceport. Using every trick she'd learned in years of navigating the dangerous fringes of civilized space, Zara managed to lose her pursuers in the labyrinthine corridors of Nexus Station. Only when she was certain she wasn't being followed did she double back towards her own docking bay. Heart pounding, Zara approached a star hopper. She punched in the access code with trembling fingers, praying that the Lusani girl had made it aboard and that the Krell hadn't thought to search her ship. As the airlock hissed open, Zara drew her blaster once more. "Hello," she called out cautiously. "Are you in here?" A soft whimper came from behind a stack of cargo crates. Zara holstered her weapon and moved slowly towards the sound. "It's okay," she said gently. "You're safe now. I'm not going to hurt you." The Lusani girl emerged from her hiding place, her iridescent skin shimmering with a mix of fear and hope. You saved me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Zara managed a tired smile. "Yeah, well, let's not celebrate just yet. We need to get off this station before those Krell figure out where you've gone. Can you strap in? This might be a bumpy ride." As if on cue, an alarm began blaring throughout the spaceport. A computerized voice announced, "Attention all vessels. Nexus Station is now under lockdown. No ships are permitted to depart without security clearance." Zara swore under her breath. "Change of plans. We're going to have to get creative." She dashed to the cockpit, the Lusani girl following close behind. "What's going to happen to us?" the girl asked, her voice trembling. Zara's fingers flew over the ship's controls, bringing the engines to life. "Well, we've got a couple of options. We can try to bluff our way past station security, which probably won't work. We can try to sneak out during shift change, which is risky. Or," she paused, a reckless grin spreading across her face, "we can pull off a maneuver that's either going to make us legends or get us killed. Want to be part of something really stupid and dangerous?" The Lusani girl blinked in surprise, then nodded hesitantly. I think so." "Great," Zara said, firing up the main thrusters. "What's your name, by the way?" "Lyra," the girl replied. "My name is Lyra." "Nice to meet you, Lyra. I'm Zara. Now strap in tight and pray to whatever gods you believe in. We're about to attempt an emergency quantum leap from inside a space station." Lyra's eyes widened in alarm. "Is that even possible?" Zara shrugged. "Guess we'll find out. Here goes nothing." With that, she slammed the quantum drive controls forward. The fabric of space-time bent around the star hopper, and with a flash of impossible light, the ship vanished from Nexus Station, leaving behind only a very confused and very angry group of Krell slavers. As the star hopper hurtled through the quantum realm, alarms blaring and the hull groaning under the strain, Zara couldn't help but laugh. She'd just broken about a dozen laws, made some powerful enemies, and probably voided her ship's warranty. But looking at the awestruck face of the young alien she'd saved, Zara knew she'd made the right choice. Whatever came next, whether it was a daring escape, a galaxy-spanning adventure, or just a quiet trip to the nearest safe port, Zara had a feeling her life would never be the same. And strangely enough, she was okay with that. The star hopper emerged from its quantum leap in a burst of radiant energy, the impossible maneuver leaving both ship and crew shaken but miraculously intact. As the alarms slowly quieted and the emergency lights faded, Zara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "We made it," she said, half to herself and half to Lyra. "I can't believe it actually worked." Lyra, still strapped into the co-pilot's seat, looked pale, or at least a paler shade of blue. "Is it always like this when you travel?" Zara couldn't help but laugh. "Not usually, no. But hey, any quantum leap you can walk away from is a good one, right?" As the adrenaline of their escape began to fade, the reality of the situation settled in. Zara had just made some very dangerous enemies and taken on an unexpected passenger. The smart thing to do would be to drop Lyra off at the nearest safe port and wash her hands of the whole affair. But looking at the young Lizani, still trembling slightly from their narrow escape, Zara knew she couldn't just abandon her. Whatever came next, they were in this together now. So, Zara said, turning to face Lyra fully, I think it's time we had a proper talk about what exactly I've gotten myself into here. Unexpected allies. As the Starhopper drifted through an uncharted sector of space, Zara and Lyra sat in the ship's small galley, nursing cups of synthetic coffee. The silence between them was heavy with unasked questions and uncertain futures. Finally, Zara spoke. All right, Lyra, I think it's time you told me exactly what's going on. Why were those Krell so interested in you? And what did they mean about your father selling you? Lyra's iridescent skin rippled with a mix of emotions, fear, sadness, and a touch of shame. It's complicated, she began. My people, the Lizani, were not well known in the wider galaxy. We're empaths, able to sense and sometimes influence the emotions of others. It's a gift, but also a curse. Zara leaned forward, intrigued. How so? Some see us as valuable commodities, Lyra explained, her voice bitter. Entertainers, spies, negotiators, there are many who would pay handsomely for Lizani's services. My father, he's an addict. Gambling, mostly. He owed a great deal to some very dangerous people. So he sold you to cover his debts, Zara finished, disgust evident in her tone. Lyra nodded, a single tear trailing down her cheek. I always knew he was troubled, but I never imagined he'd go that far. Zara reached out, hesitating for a moment before placing a comforting hand on Lyra's shoulder. I'm sorry, no one should have to go through that, but you are safe now, and we'll figure out what to do next. As if on cue, the ship's proximity alarm began to blare. Zara jumped to her feet, rushing to the cockpit with Lyra close behind. The main view screen showed a massive vessel emerging from quantum space, a Krell warship. How did they find us so quickly? Lyra gasped. Zara's mind raced. They must have some way of tracking you. Maybe a subdermal implant or something in your bloodstream. Damn it, I should have thought of that. The comm system crackled to life, and a gravelly Krell voice filled the cabin. Attention, human vessel. You have stolen property aboard. Surrender immediately, or we will open fire. Zara's hands flew over the controls, bringing the Starhopper's engines to full power. Not a chance, lizard breath, she muttered. To Lyra, she said, strap in. This is going to get rough. The Starhopper accelerated, but the Krell warship was faster. Energy weapons lanced out, narrowly missing the smaller vessel. Zara jinked and weaved, her years of experience as a smuggler coming into play as she pushed the ship to its limits. We can't outrun them, Lyra said, fear evident in her voice. Zara gritted her teeth. Maybe not, but I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. She banked hard, diving towards a nearby asteroid field. The Krell warship followed, its bulk making it difficult to navigate the dense cluster of space rocks. Zara's fingers danced across the controls, guiding the Starhopper through gaps barely wider than the ship itself. A massive asteroid loomed ahead, easily twice the size of the Starhopper. Instead of veering away, Zara accelerated towards it. What are you doing? Lyra cried out. Something really stupid, Zara replied with a grin. Hold on tight. At the last possible second, Zara fired the ship's maneuvering thrusters, sending them into a tight spin. They skimmed the surface of the asteroid, using its gravity to slingshot them in a new direction. The Krell warship, unable to match the maneuver, clipped the asteroid. Alarms blared across both ships as the collision sent debris flying. Zara didn't waste the opportunity. She pushed the quantum drive to its limits, and with a flash of light, the Starhopper vanished into faster-than-light travel. As the swirling colors of quantum space enveloped them, Zara let out a whoop of triumph. "Ha, take that, you overgrown iguanas." Lyra, looking slightly green from the wild maneuvers, managed a weak smile. That was intense. "Where are we going now?" Zara's expression grew serious. "Somewhere those Krell won't be able to follow. I've got a friend. Well, more of an acquaintance, really, who might be able to help us. Let's just say he's good at making things and people disappear when necessary." Hours later, the Starhopper emerged from quantum space near a massive space station that looked like it had been cobbled together from a dozen different ships and structures. It hung in orbit around a desolate, rocky planet. "Welcome to Freeport," Zara announced. "Last refuge of scoundrels, outcasts, and anyone looking to stay off the grid. Keep close to me, and don't make eye contact with anyone." As they docked and made their way through the station's winding corridors, Lyra marveled at the diversity of beings around them. Species she'd never even heard of haggled in 100 different languages, while automated drones zipped overhead carrying goods and messages. Zara led them to a nondescript door in a quieter section of the station. She knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. After a moment, the door slid open, revealing a dimly lit workshop crammed with all manner of strange devices and blinking consoles. A figure hunched over a workbench turned to face them. He appeared human at first glance, but his eyes glowed with an unnatural blue light, and circuitry was visible beneath his skin in places. "Zara Chen," the cyborg said, his voice carrying a slight electronic buzz. "I thought I told you never to come back here after that incident with the Arcturian ambassador's daughter." Zara grinned sheepishly. "Come on, Nexus. That was years ago. Besides, I've got a job for you. One that'll be worth your while." Nexus's glowing eyes focused on Lyra, and she felt a slight tingle as he scanned her. "A Lizani. Interesting. I assume this has something to do with why there's a bounty on both your heads across 3 sectors. "You assume correctly," Zara replied. "We need to get off the grid, completely. New identities, a way to mask her unique biosignature, the works. Think you can handle it?" Nexus stroked his chin thoughtfully. "It won't be easy, or cheap. The Krell have some of the most advanced tracking technology in the galaxy. But I might have a solution. It's experimental and not without risks." "What kind of risks?" Lyra asked, speaking up for the first time since entering the workshop. Nexus turned to her, his expression unreadable. "To fool their systems, we'd need to alter your biology at a fundamental level. It would mean rewriting parts of your genetic code, modifying your empathic abilities. You'd still be you, but different." Lyra's skin rippled with a mix of fear and uncertainty. I don't know. My abilities are part of who I am. To change that..." Zara placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "It's your choice, Lyra. We can find another way if you're not comfortable with this." Lyra closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them again, there was a new determination in her gaze. "No, I'll do it. My old life is gone anyway. Maybe it's time for a new beginning." Nexus nodded approvingly. "Brave girl. It'll take me a few days to get everything prepared. In the meantime, I suggest you both lay low. I know a place where you can stay out of sight." As they followed Nexus through a hidden passage in the back of his workshop, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into something much bigger than a simple rescue. The galaxy was changing, tensions between species rising, and somehow she and Lyra had landed right in the middle of it all. Whatever came next, Zara knew their lives would never be the same. But looking at the young Lizani beside her, seeing the strength and resilience in her eyes, Zara felt a spark of hope. Together, they just might be able to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The hidden safehouse Nexus led them to was cramped but secure, tucked away in a forgotten maintenance section of Freeport. As the days passed, Zara and Lyra found themselves growing closer, sharing stories of their pasts and dreams for the future. Zara told Lyra about growing up on a crowded Earth, dreaming of the stars, how she'd worked countless odd jobs to scrape together enough credits for her first ship, determined to make a life for herself out in the black. In turn, Lara spoke of her homeworld, a place of shimmering crystal forests and cities built in harmony with nature. She described the beauty of Lasani culture, but also the isolation that came from being seen as different by so many other species. On the third day, as they shared a meal of synthetic protein cubes, the only food Nexus had thought to stock the safe house with, Lara suddenly grew quiet. "What's wrong?" Zara asked, concerned. Lara's skin rippled with a mix of emotions. "Tomorrow's the day. The procedure to change my biology. I'm scared, Zara. What if something goes wrong? What if I'm not myself afterward?" Zara reached out, taking Lara's hand in her own. "Hey, look at me. You're the bravest person I've ever met. You've already been through so much, and you're still standing. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever changes the core of who you are, that incredible, compassionate, resilient person I've gotten to know, that won't change." Lara's eyes met Zara's, and for a moment, the human felt a wave of emotion washed over her, gratitude, affection, and something deeper that she wasn't quite ready to name. "Thank you," Lara said softly, "for everything. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't come along." Zara smiled, pushing down the flutter in her chest. "Yeah, well, don't thank me yet. We've still got a long road ahead of us. But whatever comes next, we'll face it together. I promise." As they settled in for one last night before the procedure that would change everything, neither Zara nor Lyra could shake the feeling that their chance encounter had set in motion events that would reshape not just their lives, but potentially the entire galaxy. In the shadows of Freeport, as unlikely allies prepared for an uncertain future, the stage was set for an adventure beyond anything either of them could have imagined. Metamorphosis. The day of Lyra's procedure dawned with an air of tense anticipation. Zara paced the small confines of their safe house, her usual confidence replaced by nervous energy. Lyra sat quietly, her iridescent skin shifting through a kaleidoscope of colors that reflected her tumultuous emotions. When Nexus finally arrived to escort them back to his workshop, the cyborg's glowing eyes seemed to soften at the sight of their anxiety. "Are you ready?" he asked Lyra gently. Lyra stood, squaring her shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Zara reached out, squeezing Lyra's hand. "I'll be right there with you the whole time," she promised. The trio made their way through Freeport's winding corridors, taking a circuitous route to avoid prying eyes. When they finally reached Nexus's workshop, Zara was surprised to see how much it had changed. The usual clutter of half-finished projects had been cleared away, replaced by sleek medical equipment that hummed with barely contained energy. "Impressive," Zara muttered, eyeing the setup warily. "Where did you get all this?" Nexus's lips quirked in a small smile. "It's better if you don't ask. Plausible deniability and all that." As Lyra was prepared for the procedure, Nexus pulled Zara aside. "There's something you should know," he said, his voice low. "This process, it's not just about hiding Lyra from the Krell. The changes we're making, they could have far-reaching consequences." Zara's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Nexus glanced over at Lyra, ensuring she was out of earshot. The Lizani's empathic abilities are unique in the galaxy. By modifying them, we're not just changing Lyra, we're potentially creating something entirely new, a bridge between species in a way. "And why are you telling me this now?" Zara demanded. "Because you need to be prepared," Nexus replied. "The galaxy is changing, Zara. Tensions between species are rising. Some see humans as a threat, others as potential allies. What we're doing here today, it could tip the scales one way or the other." Before Zara could respond, a soft voice called out, "I'm ready." They turned to see Lyra lying on the medical bed, her eyes wide but determined. Zara moved to her side, taking her hand once more. "I'm right here," she said softly. "You've got this." Nexus began the procedure, his movements precise and efficient. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing Lyra's vital signs and genetic structure. As Nexus worked, injecting specially engineered nanites and manipulating energy fields, Lyra's body began to change. Her skin, once the shimmering blue, began to shift and swirl with new patterns and hues. The feather-like tendrils on her head elongated and changed texture, becoming more hair-like while retaining an otherworldly quality. Most striking of all were her eyes. The amber irises expanded, filling her entire eye with a mesmerizing, swirling golden glow. Throughout it all, Lyra gripped Zara's hand tightly, occasionally letting out small gasps of discomfort. Zara murmured words of encouragement, her heart racing as she watched the transformation unfold. After what felt like hours, Nexus stepped back, his glowing eyes scanning the redouts. "It's done," he announced. "How do you feel, Lyra?" Slowly, Lyra sat up, blinking as she adjusted to her new senses. "I feel different," she said, her voice carrying a new, melodic quality. "Everything's so clear, so vibrant. And the emotions, I can sense them even more strongly now, but it's not overwhelming. It's like I can choose what to feel, what to block out." Zara handed her a mirror, and Lyra gasped at her reflection. Is that really me?" "You're still you," Zara assured her. "Just enhanced." Nexus ran a few more scans, nodding in satisfaction. The procedure was a success. The Krell's tracking systems shouldn't be able to detect you now. And your new abilities, well, we'll have to see how they develop. As Lyra adjusted to her new form, practicing control over her enhanced empathic abilities, Zara pulled Nexus aside once more. "What now?" she asked. "Where do we go from here?" The cyborg's expression grew serious. "That's up to you, but I'd advise against staying in one place for too long. The changes we've made to Lyra, they're going to attract attention, not just from the Krell, but from others who might see her as a threat or an opportunity." Zara nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "We'll need a plan, supplies, maybe some backup." "I might be able to help with that," Nexus interrupted. He moved to a hidden panel in the wall, retrieving a small, ornate box. This belonged to a client of mine, someone who was working towards peace between species. He didn't make it, but his work, his dream, it's all in here. He handed the box to Zara. Coordinates, contacts, information on a project called Harmony. I don't know all the details, but I think it might be connected to what we've done here today. Zara took the box, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "Why us?" she asked. "Why trust us with this?" Nexus's glowing eyes seemed to peer into her soul. "Because sometimes the universe has a way of putting the right people in the right place at the right time. You saved Lyra when no one else would. You took a stand. Maybe you're exactly who we need right now." Before Zara could respond, Lyra approached, still marveling at her new appearance. "What's going on?" she asked, her golden eyes flickering between them. Zara managed a smile, tucking the box away. "Just discussing our next move. How do you feel about a little adventure?" Lyra's face lit up with a smile that seemed to illuminate the entire room. "With you, I'm ready for anything." As they prepared to leave Freeport, gathering supplies and making plans, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The galaxy was changing, and somehow she and Lyra had become a part of that change. Their first stop would be a small, out-of-the-way planet called Haven, one of the coordinates from Nexus's box. It was supposedly home to a diverse community of species living in harmony, the kind of place where Lyra's unique abilities might be understood and appreciated. As the Starhopper prepared for departure, Zara found Lyra in the cockpit, gazing out at the stars. "Having second thoughts?" she asked gently. Lyra turned, her golden eyes seemed to peer into Zara's very soul. "No," she said softly. "For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together, right?" Zara felt a warmth spread through her chest. Together, she agreed, taking Lyra's hand in her own. As the Starhopper detached from Freeport and set course for Haven, neither Zara nor Lyra could have predicted the challenges that lay ahead. They were about to embark on a journey that would test their newfound bond, challenge their beliefs, and potentially reshape the very fabric of galactic society. But in that moment, as they stood side by side watching the stars streak by, all that mattered was the connection between them, a human and a transformed Lizani, united by chance and choice, ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The Starhopper's quantum drive hummed to life, and with a flash of light, they vanished into the depths of space, leaving behind the familiar and hurtling towards a future filled with both danger and promise. As they traveled, Zara and Lyra pored over the information in Nexus's box, piecing together clues about the mysterious Harmony project. It seemed to be the work of a coalition of visionaries from various species, all working towards a common goal: true understanding and cooperation between the diverse inhabitants of the galaxy. But for every piece of the puzzle they uncovered, new questions arose. Who were the key players behind Harmony? Why had they gone to such lengths to keep it hidden? And how did Lyra's transformation fit into their plans? As they approached Haven, Zara couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. They were stepping into something much bigger than themselves, with consequences that could ripple across the stars. But looking at Lyra, seeing the hope and determination in her golden eyes, Zara knew there was no turning back. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, a human and a transformed Lizani, bound by friendship, trust, and perhaps something even deeper, ready to challenge the very foundations of galactic society in the name of harmony and understanding. Haven's secret. The Starhopper emerged from quantum space in orbit around Haven, a small, unremarkable-looking planet with swirling green and blue land masses. As Zara guided the ship towards the designated landing coordinates, Lyra peered out the viewport, her golden eyes wide with wonder. "It looks so peaceful," Lyra remarked. "I can almost feel it from here." Zara raised an eyebrow. "Your empathic abilities work at this distance now." Lyra shook her head, a bit embarrassed. "No, not really. It's more of a feeling, like there's something special about this place." As they descended through the atmosphere, the true nature of Haven revealed itself. The planet's surface was dotted with diverse ecosystems, lush forests, sprawling grasslands, and crystal-clear lakes. But what truly stood out were the settlements, cities that seemed to grow organically from the landscape, blending harmoniously with their surroundings. They landed on the outskirts of the largest settlement, a city that stretched across a vast valley. Buildings of various architectural styles coexisted side by side, creating a visual tapestry of galactic diversity. As Zara and Lyra disembarked, they were greeted by a welcoming committee unlike any they had ever seen. The group consisted of representatives from at least a dozen different species, all standing together in apparent harmony. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin stepped forward. "Welcome to Haven," she said, her voice melodious. "I am Aria, leader of the Haven Council. We've been expecting you." Zara tensed, her hand instinctively moving towards her blaster. "Expecting us? How?" Aria smiled serenely. "Peace, Captain Chen. We mean you no harm. We were informed of your arrival by a mutual friend, one who believes you may be instrumental in our cause." Lyra stepped forward, her golden eyes locked on Aria. "You're part of the Harmony Project, aren't you?" Aria nodded. "Indeed we are. Haven is more than just a refuge. It's a testing ground for what we hope will become a new galactic order. One based on understanding, cooperation, and the celebration of our differences rather than fear of them." As they were led into the city, Zara and Lyra marveled at the sights around them. Species that were traditionally enemies walked side by side, engaged in friendly conversation. Technology from 100 different worlds worked in concert to power the city's infrastructure. "This is incredible," Lyra breathed, her skin shimmering with excitement. "I've never seen anything like it." Zara, however, remained cautious. "It's impressive," she admitted, "but how do you maintain this? Surely there must be conflicts, disagreements." Arya led them to a large, circular building at the city's center. "Of course there are," she replied. "We're not so naive as to believe we can eliminate all discord. But we've developed methods to manage conflicts, to promote empathy and understanding between different species." As they entered the building, Zara and Lyra found themselves in a vast, domed chamber. At its center stood a glowing pillar of energy, pulsing with a soft, blue light. "This," Arya said, gesturing to the pillar, "is the heart of Haven. It's a psychic amplifier powered by the combined mental energies of our most gifted empaths and telepaths. It helps to foster a sense of community, to break down the barriers between species." Lyra stepped closer to the pillar, mesmerized. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Then her eyes widened in surprise. "I can feel it. It's like a gentle presence in the back of my mind." Zara frowned, uncomfortable with the idea. "Isn't that a bit invasive? Manipulating people's thoughts and emotions?" Arya shook her head. "It doesn't control or manipulate. It simply facilitates. Helps people to understand each other better, and participation is entirely voluntary." As Arya explained more about Haven and the Harmony Project, Zara found herself torn. On one hand, the idea was beautiful, a true interspecies utopia. On the other, her years as an independent trader had taught her to be wary of anything that seemed too good to be true. "This is all fascinating," Zara said, "but why bring us here? What do you want from us?" Arya's expression grew serious. "We brought you here because we need your help. The Harmony Project is at a critical juncture. We're ready to expand, to bring our message to the wider galaxy. But there are those who would see us fail." "The Krell," Lyra guessed, her skin darkening with concern. Arya nodded. "Among others, there are powerful factions in the galaxy who profit from division and conflict. They see Haven and the Harmony Project as a threat to their interests." "And what does this have to do with us?" Zara asked, though she had a sinking feeling she already knew the answer. "Lyra," Arya said, turning to the transformed Lysani, "your unique abilities, combined with your experiences both as a Lysani and now as something more, make you uniquely suited to help us. You could be a bridge between species, a living example of the potential for change and growth." Lyra's golden eyes widened. "Me? But I'm nobody special, just a girl who got lucky." Zara stepped closer to Lyra, protective. "And what about the risks? You're asking her to put herself in danger, to become a target." Arya's gaze was compassionate but firm. "We understand the risks, but the potential benefits for Lyra, for Haven, for the entire galaxy, they're too great to ignore. Of course, the choice is entirely yours." Lyra was quiet for a long moment, her skin shifting through a rainbow of colors as she processed her emotions. Finally, she looked up, her golden eyes filled with determination. "I want to help," she said. "If there's a chance I can make a difference, to prevent others from suffering like I did, I have to try." Zara wanted to argue, to protect Lyra from the dangers that lay ahead. But seeing the resolve in her friend's eyes, she knew it would be futile. Instead, she sighed, placing a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "All right, if this is what you want, I'm with you. Someone's got to watch your back, after all." Arya smiled, relief evident on her face. "Thank you, both of you. Your courage gives me hope for the future." She gestured towards a door at the far end of the chamber. "Come, there's someone you need to meet, the founder of the Harmony Project. He can explain more about what we're facing and how you can help." As they followed Arya deeper into Haven's central complex, Zara couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. They were about to be drawn into a conflict that spanned the galaxy, with stakes higher than anything they'd faced before. But looking at Lyra, seeing the mix of nervousness and excitement on her friend's face, Zara felt a surge of protectiveness. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dangers they might face, she would be there. to guard Lyra, to support her, and maybe, just maybe, to help change the galaxy for the better. The door slid open, revealing a dimly lit room dominated by a large, circular table. Seated around it were beings from a dozen different species, all turned to face the newcomers. But it was the figure at the head of the table that drew Zara and Lyra's attention. He appeared human at first glance, but there was an ageless quality to him, a depth in his eyes that spoke of centuries of experience. When he spoke, his voice was warm and resonant, filled with quiet authority. "Welcome, Zara Chen and Lyra. I am Alastair Vance, founder of the Harmony Project. We have much to discuss." As Zara and Lyra took their seats, both felt the weight of destiny settling upon their shoulders. Their adventure was about to take a turn neither could have predicted, thrusting them into the heart of a galactic struggle that would test their courage, their convictions, and the bond between them. The Galactic Crucible. Alastair Vance's piercing gaze swept over Zara and Lyra as they settled into their seats at the grand table. The room hummed with an energy that seemed to emanate from the diverse group of beings gathered there. "I'm sure you have many questions," Alastair began, his voice carrying a weight of wisdom and experience. "But first, allow me to explain the true scope of what we're facing." With a wave of his hand, a holographic display sprang to life above the table, showing a map of the known galaxy. Clusters of stars illuminated in various colors, representing different factions and alliances. "For millennia, the galaxy has been divided," Alastair continued. "Species warring against species, empires rising and falling, with countless lives lost in the endless cycle of conflict. The Harmony Project aims to break this cycle, to forge a new path of cooperation and understanding." Zara leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "It's a noble goal, but how exactly do you plan to achieve it? And what's our role in all this?" Alastair's lips curved in a small smile, direct and to the point. "I appreciate that, Captain Chen. The key lies in communication and empathy. We've developed technology, Bloodhaven's psychic amplifier, that allows for deeper understanding between species. But technology alone isn't enough. We need ambassadors, individuals who can bridge the gaps between cultures." His gaze shifted to Lyra, who straightened under his scrutiny. "That's where you come in, my dear. Your unique transformation has given you abilities that could be pivotal in our efforts." Lyra's skin shimmered with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "But I'm still learning to control these new abilities. How can I possibly help on a galactic scale?" With training and support, Aria interjected gently. "We have some of the most skilled empaths and telepaths in the galaxy here on Haven. They can help you hone your skills, teach you to use your gifts in ways you never imagined." Zara, feeling protective, spoke up. "And what about the risks? You said there are those who oppose you. Won't this put a target on Lyra's back?" Alastair's expression grew grave. "You're right to be concerned, Captain. Our opposition is formidable. The Krell Empire is just one faction that sees our work as a threat. There are others, meta-corporations that profit from conflict, isolationist species, fearful of change, even some human supremacist groups who view any cooperation with aliens as a betrayal." The holographic display shifted, showing images of warships, shadowy figures, and scenes of conflict. Zara felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the true scale of what they were up against. "We're not asking you to face these threats alone," Alastair continued. "The Harmony Project has allies throughout the galaxy, some open, some hidden. We can provide resources, safe houses, and backup when needed. But we need individuals willing to take risks to be the spark that ignites change." Lyra stood, her golden eyes blazing with determination. "I want to help. My whole life, I felt like an outsider, too different, too sensitive. But now I see that my differences can be a strength. If I can use my abilities to bring people together, to prevent others from suffering like I did, I have to try." Zara felt a swell of pride mixed with concern. She stood as well, placing a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Where she goes, I go. Someone's got to keep her out of trouble." Alastair nodded, a look of approval on his face. Your loyalty does you credit, Captain Chen. We'll need both of you, Lyra's empathic abilities and your experience navigating the shadowy corners of the galaxy. He turned to address the gathered council. Preparations must begin immediately. Area, see to Lyra's training. Vorex, he nodded to a multi-limbed being with crystalline skin. Outfit the Starhopper with our latest stealth technology. The rest of you, alert our network. The next phase of harmony begins now. As the council dispersed, Alastair approached Zara and Lyra. I know we're asking much of you, he said softly. The path ahead will be dangerous, and there may be times when you question everything. But remember this, what we're doing here could change the course of galactic history. Every act of understanding, every bridge built between species, brings us one step closer to a future of true harmony. Zara met his gaze, her resolve strengthening. We're ready. Just tell us where to start. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Lyra threw herself into training, working tirelessly to master her enhanced abilities. Zara split her time between upgrading the Starhopper and studying the intricate web of galactic politics she'd previously done her best to avoid. They learned of key figures in the struggle: Chancellor Vex of the Krell Empire, a warmonger determined to assert Krell dominance over the galaxy; Madame Zeo, the enigmatic CEO of Starforge Industries, whose corporation's tendrils reached into every corner of the known universe; and the mysterious figure known only as the Arbiter, leader of a secretive human supremacist movement. As their training neared its end, Alastair called them for a final briefing. Your first mission will take you to the Rigel system, he explained, bringing up a holographic star map. We've received word that a peace conference is being organized there, representatives from a dozen species coming together to discuss trade agreements and cultural exchange. Sounds like a perfect opportunity for the Harmony Project, Lyra observed. Alastair nodded. Exactly. But we've also received intelligence suggesting that anti-alien elements are planning to disrupt the conference. Possibly violently. Zora's eyes narrowed. Let me guess, you want us to stop them? Not just stop them, Alastair corrected. We need you to expose them, to show the gathered representatives the true face of those who profit from division and fear. Lyra, your empathic abilities will be crucial in identifying the saboteurs. Zara, your skills as a smuggler, your ability to move unseen and gather information will be essential in uncovering their plans. He fixed them both with an intense gaze. This mission could be a turning point. If we can foster understanding and cooperation at this conference, it could create a ripple effect across the galaxy. But if we fail, if the forces of division succeed, it could set our cause back years. Lyra and Zara exchanged a look, a silent communication born of their growing bond. They both nodded, determination evident in their stance. We won't let you down, Lyra said firmly. Just one question, Zara added, a hint of her old roguish grin appearing. How exactly are we supposed to infiltrate a high-security diplomatic conference? Alastair's eyes twinkled with amusement. I'm glad you asked. You see, we've managed to secure you both official invitations. Congratulations, Ambassador Chen and cultural-attached Lyra. You'll be representing the interests of Haven and the Harmony Project. Zara's jaw dropped. You can't be serious. Me, a diplomat. Think of it as the ultimate smuggling job, Alastair said with a chuckle. Your smuggling ideas, understanding, hope. As they left the briefing room to make final preparations, Lyra turned to Zara, her golden eyes shimmering with excitement and nerves. Are you ready for this? Zara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. But looking at Lyra, seeing the trust and affection in her gaze, Zara felt a surge of confidence. Ready as I'll ever be. Let's go change the galaxy. They boarded the newly upgraded Starhopper, its systems humming with advanced stealth technology. As the ship lifted off from Haven, Zara and Lyra stood side by side in the cockpit, watching the peaceful planet recede. No matter what happens, Zara said softly, I'm glad you're here with me. Lyra's hand found Zara's, their fingers intertwining. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." With a flash of quantum energy, the Starhopper vanished into faster-than-light travel, carrying its crew towards a mission that would test their skills, their convictions, and the bond between them. The fate of galactic harmony hung in the balance, and two unlikely heroes, a human smuggler and a transformed empath, were about to take center stage in a cosmic drama generations in the making. As they hurtled through quantum space towards the Rigel system, both Zara and Lyra knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united in their quest for a more harmonious galaxy. Diplomacy and deception. The Rigel system loomed before them, a dazzling array of planets orbiting a massive blue star. The Starhopper decelerated from quantum travel, its newly installed stealth systems humming quietly as they approached Rigel Prime, a bustling ecumenopolis that served as the system's capital. Zara's hands danced over the controls, guiding their ship towards the designated diplomatic docking bay. "Well," she said, trying to hide her nervousness behind a smirk, ready to play ambassador, cultural attaché Lyra. Lyra smoothed down the formal robes she'd been provided for the mission, her golden eyes reflecting a mix of excitement and apprehension. "As ready as I'll ever be. How about you, Ambassador Chen?" Zara tugged at the collar of her own diplomatic uniform, feeling decidedly out of place. "I still say we should have gone with my original plan. Sneak in through the service ducts, maybe commandeer a few serving droids. And miss our grand diplomatic entrance," Lyra teased. "Where's your sense of adventure?" As they disembarked, they were greeted by a protocol droid who ushered them towards the conference center. The streets of Rigel Prime were a riot of color and sound, with beings from dozens of species going about their business. Towering skyscrapers stretched as far as the eye could see, their spires disappearing into the clouds. The conference center itself was a marvel of architecture, a massive crystalline structure that seemed to defy gravity. As they entered, Zara and Lyra were immediately swept up in a whirlwind of introductions, handshakes, or tentacle clasps, or telepathic greetings, depending on the species, and political small talk. Lyra's enhanced empathic abilities proved invaluable as they navigated the complex web of alliances and rivalries. She could sense the undercurrents of emotion beneath the polite diplomatic facades, giving Zara subtle cues about who to trust and who to be wary of. As the opening ceremonies began, Zara scanned the crowd, looking for any signs of the saboteurs Alastair had warned them about. "Anything?" she whispered to Lyra. Lyra's brow furrowed in concentration. "There's so much emotion in the room, it's hard to pinpoint anything specific, but there's definitely an undercurrent of tension. Fear, anger, it's muted, but it's there." The conference's first day was filled with speeches and preliminary negotiations. Zara, much to her own surprise, found herself warming to the role of ambassador. Her years of dealing with shady characters in seedy spaceports had, oddly enough, prepared her well for the double-speak and veiled threats of galactic politics. As night fell and the delegates retired to their quarters, Zara and Lyra met in secret to compare notes. "I think I've identified a few potential suspects," Lyra said, her skin shimmering with excitement. "There's a group of Krell delegates who seem particularly agitated, and I caught a flash of something from one of the human representatives. A sense of anticipation, almost eagerness for conflict." Zara nodded grimly. "I've heard whispers too. Something big is planned for tomorrow's main summit. We need to find out what and stop it before it's too late." They spent the night investigating, using every trick in Zara's smuggler's handbook to access restricted areas and eavesdrop on private conversations. As dawn broke, they finally had a clearer picture of the threat they faced. "It's worse than we thought," Zara said, her voice tight with worry. "The saboteurs aren't just trying to disrupt the conference. They're planning to assassinate key pro-unity delegates from multiple species. They want to spark an interstellar war." Lyra's skin paled to a sickly blue. "We have to stop them. But how? If we go public with what we know, they'll just accelerate their plans." Zara paced the room, her mind racing. We need to turn their plan against them, expose them in a way that brings the other delegates together instead of driving them apart. As the final day of the conference dawned, tension hung heavy in the air. Delegates filed into the Grand Assembly Hall, unaware of the danger that lurked among them. Zara and Lyra took their seats, exchanging a meaningful glance. Everything hinged on the next few hours. The summit began with a series of speeches on unity and cooperation. But as the Arcturian ambassador took the podium to propose a groundbreaking multi-species alliance, chaos erupted. A group of armed individuals burst into the hall, weapons raised. Their leader, a tall human with cold eyes, stepped forward. "This farce ends now," he declared. "The human race will not be subjugated by alien influence." Panic swept through the assembly. But before the attackers could make their move, Zara stood, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "Is this how you prove human superiority? Through cowardice and deception?" All eyes turned to her. Lyra stood as well, her golden eyes blazing. "These attackers don't represent humanity," she declared. "They represent fear, the same fear that has kept our species divided for too long." The leader of the attack group snarled, raising his weapon. But in that moment, Lyra reached out with her empathic abilities, projecting a wave of calm and understanding through the assembly hall. Delegates who moments ago had been panicking now stood firm, united in the face of aggression. Zara continued, her words carrying the weight of truth. "We've uncovered evidence that this attack was orchestrated by a coalition of war profiteers and isolationists from multiple species. They don't care about human supremacy or alien rights. They care about keeping us divided so they can maintain their power." As she spoke, holographic displays sprang to life around the hall, showing the evidence they'd gathered. Financial transactions, secret communications, plans for false flag attacks, all laid bare for the assembled delegates to see. The would-be assassins, realizing their plan had failed, attempted to flee, but they found their escape routes blocked by delegates of a dozen different species, standing shoulder to shoulder, or tentacle to tentacle, in defiance. In the aftermath of the failed attack, as security forces rounded up the conspirators, something remarkable happened. The delegates, shaken by how close they'd come to disaster, began to truly talk to one another. Old grudges were set aside as they realized how easily they'd almost been manipulated into war. Lyra, her empathic abilities working overtime, moved through the crowd, helping to soothe tensions and foster understanding. Zara found herself at the center of impromptu negotiations, her straightforward manner cutting through centuries of diplomatic doublespeak. As the conference drew to a close, a new galactic accord was drafted, one that went far beyond simple trade agreements. It laid the groundwork for a true interstellar alliance, committed to peace, cultural exchange, and mutual defense against those who would sow discord. When the final votes were tallied and the accord was signed, the assembly hall erupted in cheers. Delegates from species that had been bitter enemies now embraced, united in hope for a brighter future. Amidst the celebration, Zara found Lyra standing quietly to the side, her golden eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "We did it," Lyra said softly as Zara approached. "I can feel it, the hope, the joy. It's overwhelming." Zara took Lyra's hand, marveling at how natural it felt. "Yeah, we did. Not bad for a couple of misfits, huh?" As the delegates began to disperse, many stopped to thank Zara and Lyra for their role in unmasking the conspiracy. Promises were made to support Haven and the Harmony Project to spread their message of unity across the stars. Later, as they prepared the Starhopper for departure, a message came through from Alastair. His holographic image smiled warmly at them. "Congratulations," he said. "You've done more than we could have hoped for. This is just the beginning, but it's a beginning filled with promise." Zara and Lyra exchanged a glance, both feeling the weight of the future on their shoulders. "So what's next?" Zara asked. "Back to Haven for debriefing." Alastair shook his head. "No, I have another mission for you. There are other worlds out there, other species still isolated or in conflict. They need to hear our message, to see living proof that harmony between species is possible. His eyes twinkled. Think you're up for a little galaxy-spanning adventure. Lyra's skin shimmered with excitement. What do you think, Zara? Ready to see what's out there? Zara grinned, feeling more alive than she had in years. With you, always. As the Starhopper lifted off from Rigel Prime, Zara and Lyra stood side by side in the cockpit, watching the glittering cityscape recede. They'd started this journey as unlikely allies, a human smuggler and an alien refugee. Now they were something more. Partners, friends, perhaps in time, even something deeper. The vastness of space stretched out before them, filled with worlds to explore, wrongs to right, and bridges to build between the stars. It wouldn't be easy. There would be dangers, setbacks, and hard choices ahead. But as long as they faced it together, Zara and Lyra knew they could overcome anything. With a flash of quantum energy, the Starhopper vanished into faster-than-light travel, carrying its crew towards new adventures. And in its wake, it left a galaxy forever changed, taking its first tentative steps towards a future of true harmony.